Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a face lather and we'll see how that goes. We'll do kind of a normal face lather. Instead of in the past I lathered just enough to kind of get a brush full, and maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't go. I definitely won't go with an overloading type of face lather. I got a special request in recently in the YouTube comments where I went ahead and lathered up my via the face, but to the wetness level that I might normally like, instead of kind of sacrificing like I often do. And got a guy that thinks that might help him out. So let's see what we can do. We've got the Omega boar brush 011842. This is a Connaught version, and a Faux Jade is what it's called on their site, as well as the model number will get you there. Chiseled face is the scent as usual, and I've got the EDP, the aftershave there, and the EDP for Midnight Stag as well. Carve Christopher Bradley with a B solid bar plate, 3¼ inch Gladius handle. I will be not using my bowl that I've been using lately and really enjoying. All right, let's load up the razor with the Nacet blade that I've been using. Now, in a sense, this is not really a fair face lathering adventure, because you really think of it as only the first 3 passes are going to matter, because most face lathers, and here's the Nacet I'll be using, 431 uses. That's the number for today. Now, obviously, the guy I'm helping out with this shave is probably not going to be using a blade that's been used that many times, but the point is it gives me a nice close shave, and he will probably have similar effects from whatever he uses. All right, and he should not feel bad if he's not able to, as a beginner, if he's not able to get blades to go very far. That's something that comes later with more practice, more technique, really wet lathers, that sort of thing, is my belief at least. All right, now that the blade is in there, let me get my face splashed with some water, and that is to start the bristles, the stubble, to soften up, hydrate, that kind of thing. All right. So no need to work it up in the bowl. Now, we can decide how much loading to do, and that's going to depend on the different soap base that you use. This soap here has been used consecutively for me all month, and so it's going to need to be worked less than if I were just to pull it off the shelf after letting it maybe sit around for a few months. So that's something to take consideration as well, because in face lathering, loading time, is a factor. Now, the good news is, if you find that you just haven't loaded enough, just go back to the puck, load some more. All right. Now, 4 seconds of loading has given me enough lather when bowl lathering to do 6 or 7 passes of shaving. Now, the face lathering, because so much of that concentrate kind of disappears after the first kind of rinse, that's unfortunate, and so it's not going to give me that. It's not going to be as economical. And so let's just kind of do that 5-second load and try that out. Now I'm going to start. I'm going to shake my brush out just a little bit. I'm not going to shake it out as much as I usually do, and maybe that'll help us this time. And so 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and each soap base is going to be slightly different, of course. This is it got some pretty wet stuff going on in the puck, and that's okay. You might want to pour that down in your sink, not really let that sit on your soap all night, but probably not a big deal if it does. All right, so you see this doesn't have too many suds, too much froth, that kind of thing. So let's just kind of gradually start. With the amount of water that this brush holds, if I press it really hard against my skin, it'll dump out that water, and I don't really want that. Now there are a couple ways you can go with face lathering, and I am no face lathering expert. I bowl lather most of the time. But this particular method I've been pretty happy with. And I'm not doing this area here very much because that means I turn the brush upside down and I want that water to kind of stay toward the soap side of the knot. There's plenty of time to work that up later. You can, of course, just load the heck out of your brush, and then you end up with a whole bunch of frothy stuff right on your brush. And you know, if you want to do that, you know, that's up to you. But to me, what that does is it has this side effect of having your lather just be too dry. It's pasty, that sort of thing. Now, some people, that's fine with them. You know why? Because they will then start adding water to their brush kind of as a second phase. They'll intentionally paint on something kind of pasty first. See, look at this lather. It's looking pretty good right now. They'll intentionally paste on something or, you know, work on something pasty. And then they will start bringing in the water, gradually starting to add more water to your brush, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. And notice when this lather starts getting wet, it starts to fly off the brush, and that's why I do like bowl lathering so much. And this is a nice slick, I definitely like this method because the lather's much slicker. Something drier is just not going to be as slick. And if you also have sensitivity issues with, you know, certain soaps and chemicals and things like that, then see, this isn't exposing my skin to such concentrated amounts of the soap. The water was kind of brought in from the beginning. And I think we're almost done here. You can see it's slightly translucent. No problem with that because, again, we're looking to establish that thin, protective, ultra slick coating. It does not need to be. Matter of fact, if it's really thick like Santa's beard, then that's usually a sign that it's too dry. All right, yeah, this feels nice and slick. It has been a little messy with you know, stuff dripping every once in a while, but not too bad. Not too bad. All right. We do have a little extra around the brush, and that's cool. Now, just to save and try to conserve some soap, some lather for the latter passes, I'm going to pull that off and put it in my lather bowl, since the third pass is likely to be kind of meager. All right. And with this one, I didn't really work the brush very much. Didn't really splay it a whole lot. I was just kind of very gentle with it. And then, of course, you know, you can do whatever you want. But I was mainly just wanting to keep that thinner lather on the brush, the really wet stuff. And I did an experiment earlier this month with face lathering where I kind of I loaded like for 8 seconds instead of 5, and sure, it gave me a lot of lather in the first couple of passes, but like always, it went down the drain pretty early on. And then it still wasn't there, whether I loaded light or loaded heavier, it still wasn't there on the third pass. Do a rinse. Now, if you're trying to keep lather around on your face, then maybe don't do a full rinse. I've kept a little residual soap on my face. That surely can only help us, right? And then I'm rolling the side lather off of the brush, you know, and then working it on. And we don't have to work the face anymore now that we've done that first pass, so we can just apply it. And as you can see, it's plenty thick enough to get the job done here. And then we have this much left over for a third pass, and I think that's very respectable. Most guys get everything done within 3 passes, and so I don't think that's being too skimpy. All right, I think this is working out to be a pretty successful face lather. I'm going to go cross grain on my second pass, like most guys do. For me, this direction right here on the face is cross grain. And then here, my grain goes kind of across my neck, and so this angle right here is cross grain. If you're a new, then you want to slow down. Don't go as fast as I am. And let's do that kind of, and I'm just taking like a little bit of water and putting it on my face, not really doing much of a rinse. And now for the third pass. And this is a young boar brush. Here's a reminder, if you are face lathering with a young boar brush, and I think boars are definitely worth the time, but they don't hold a lot of lather in the very beginning when they're young. And this one is, you know, just getting out of that stage. I think he's got 50 uses on him, which is kind of young for a boar, but he's not having a problem holding lather anymore. But if you're like 30 uses or less, don't be surprised if you have to go back and load up from the soap tub before every pass. That's totally normal with a young boar brush. And so there's probably a little bit of lather here left to squeeze out if we want. So I think that one worked pretty well. We've definitely got plenty on my face to provide me with a nice shave. And what we're looking for is that just slickness, because that slickness is going to give us protection from the blade edge. Oh yeah, see, that feels great. Very comfortable. I can even do a diagonal slant type stroke there to help out. My cheeks usually don't have any problem getting done really well. And then here I'm going to do the cross grain again, but from the other side. And that helps this trouble spot to be shaved a little better. Matter of fact, some people on the third pass, if you don't like to go against the grain, which for me on my cheeks would be just a simple straight upward stroke. Some people don't like that, and in general I don't like that either. It just, my skin doesn't agree with it. I would do a cross grain pass. They might do a cross grain, but as the third pass, because the second would have been one cross grain, and the third another cross grain, but just switch the direction of the cross grain. And so for my second one, you saw me go ear to goatee, ear to chin. That was the second pass. And so some people then choose for the third cross grain pass on their face to be chin to ear, and so you can do that too. But for me, it's kind of an awkward stroke, and my face, even with just repeating the same cross grain for the third pass, my face gets done really nicely. And so I prefer that comfort because it still ends up really well. All right, did we get it? And then we can reach down here and use up just a little bit that's left. Now I could probably press a little bit here, get some more there for that kind of final touch up. And with this older blade, this against the grain right here is very helpful. This is the only place I'll do it, and that's only after because against the grain is really sensitive for me, that's only after I have done 3 or 4 full passes. That was my brush settling down in the little lather bowl there. All right, good to go. So now I'll do a full rinse. Now for other guys who do face lathering, there's just an endless supply of YouTubers out there. And most of them like their lathers thicker than I do. But you should definitely check out, in my opinion, Michael Freeberg's 4-part wet shaving tutorial. That's what the title is, wet shaving tutorial. And he does the method where he does load for a good while, and then he will maybe just shake out a little bit of the water before his big old load. And he also has a loading bowl, and that's another way. Instead of having a bowl for all your lather, he uses a smaller bowl just to kind of work that initial lather up and combine the soap at the tips of your brush with the water that's inside your brush. And so that's kind of a hybrid way to help that to integrate it first, instead of just being a face only latherer. And I like his technique. And then during the course of the shave, when he needs more water, he likes to, in that series, he dribbles water over into the brush itself, and then just keeps adding it. Now for me, that's really slow and tedious, and then a lot of times the water drips out, and so that's why I think I favor what I just did with coming at it with a fairly wet brush, and then just being kind of tender with the tips there, and then once you get everything going, you could work the brush harder if you want to. And this is with a boar. I might modify that technique with a badger, but I'm sure it would work with a badger. You got another cut above with Chris. He's a good face latherer. He does like his a little bit more dry than mine. HD Shaves is another good guy who tests all kinds of products, and he's a face latherer as well. And I think I've seen him do kind of the thing where he has something a little pasty in the beginning, but then he starts to add water to the brush and just keeps working it. He also tends to do more, at least with the videos that I've seen, is a painting motion for most of the shave, whereas I need that scrubbing motion. It just feels good to me. But he likes the painting stroke, and I think that lets him enjoy a lot of synthetics that have a lot of backbone. But I don't know if that's why he does it or not. But so that he's definitely one to check out as well. So there you go. I was very happy with that face lather. And I'll go ahead and stop at 3 passes, and I really hope that helps. We've gotten a good rinse here, so now the aftershave for Midnight Stag. But his request was kind of timely. The guy who asked about a face lather, because in this month here, I'm coming down to the last several days of the month where I'm using this same get up, and I have been wondering what to do next. I like to try to play around with, since I'm using the same stuff all month, I like to play around with the process. And since it's the 4th week of Austere August, I put 4 sprays of the EDP on myself, and then I actually double that to 4 on each arm, because that's the Midnight Stag Challenge for this month, sponsored by Stephen Joyner of Dogwood Handcrafts. Makes wonderful brushes. All right. In terms of face comfort, feels great. Definitely no weepers or anything like that. This is one of the benefits from having a smoothed out blade with a lot of uses on it. So good luck as you guys work on your face lathers. Maybe this will help a little bit, but again, I'm not a supreme authority on it, but I was very happy with this one. All right. Went and stropped the brush, washed out the lather bowls, things like that. And this brush just hasn't changed very much over the last 20 or so uses. I thought it might, but I was wrong. But it's an omega knot, and they don't change to different fibers. They kind of have the same bristles across all their different knots, it seems. And it's either some are bleached, some are unbleached. This would seem to be an unbleached one. Those often, the omega bristles often take a few hundred uses to really get comfy, but apparently, I mean, they have a lot of fans out there, and so maybe they do get to a really cool place. It just takes a long time to do it, but I could see how if a fan would to wait that long or to get their brush to that point, I could see how they would just be very ardent fans, and you can definitely see some guys online that just go nuts over their Omega brushes. But for me, my Simogs and Zeniths do seem to get comfy much quicker, and so that I kind of am gravitating toward those in general. All right. Well, there we go. I had this thought as I was cleaning out my bowls, because I'm using a basin method right here out of necessity, because the bathroom has a super tiny sink at this location, and it is a shared bathroom, and it's not as air conditioned as this room is, and so it's not nearly as comfortable. And I wouldn't want to be sitting here breaking a sweat while I'm working with you guys in the summer. So, but to be honest, I'm kind of enjoying it. And something I mentioned last time, I'm enjoying the fact of not having to turn on a faucet whenever I need to rinse a razor or rinse my face or my hands. I just have my water bowl over there for the razor, and I have the basin with water in it right under me here, and that's what I do my face rinses with. And it's made me think, what if I change to another place and I have a bathroom that I could shave in if I wanted to? Maybe I wouldn't want to. Maybe I'd keep with the basin method if I had room, in another room to do what I'm doing now. So that's very interesting. When I first started this, I didn't think it would be that way at all. All right, well, Midnight Stag is smelling great on me right now, and let us put another dot on the card. The Midnight Stag 430. So we're going to start the 431 decade there. All right, guys, all the best to you, and hope this is helpful for any of you guys who want to play around with face lathering. And there we go. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You guys take care.